Okay, I see it's recording. Hi, I'm Burry Bessee. I'm the pastor of the Burlington and Stratton United Methodist Churches in Kit Carson County, Colorado. And we've been on lockdown for what, 6-7 weeks now because of the COVID-19 virus. And it's been quite the experience. In the work life, we stopped worshiping together. Although for Holy Week, 2 of the other pastors in town and I did some combined services for Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter morning. It was different because we were broadcasting on Facebook Live, and I've been doing Facebook Live and Zoom worship for the past 6-7 weeks. And except for those 3 services, we didn't see other people outside the church. It's been hard. When the nursing homes shut down, I was at Grace Manor the day it shut down. I was there from 11 to about 11:30, and I visited with all of my people and let them know that I wouldn't be back for a while because they knew it was being shut down, but they didn't have all of the facts about it. And as I went out, the guard looked at me and said, "You still have half an hour." And I'm like, I'm done. I've seen my people. I've done what I came to do. And so I left. But since then, 2 of my ladies have died, and I did services at the graveside that were hard because I know both of them have lots of family around town, lots of people who would like to have honored them and who weren't able to because of this social distancing and all of that. And I have to say, I am not good about wearing a mask. When I go into stores, I try and put it on, but around town, my daily life, no. The church office has been open 4 days a week for this whole 6 weeks, and my admin has been here. We have a connecting door between our offices, but we maintain our social distance. The thought had been we needed to be in the office, and because of people calling for help or whatever, and very few people have called for help. We have managed to not perfect, but do well with the Zoom worship and with Facebook worship. I think every week it improves, but it's tough. That first week was spring break for the school, and I recorded a sermon and we uploaded it to YouTube, but I didn't have a full worship service that week. And the next week, my organist came in. He said, "I can't go anywhere. I might as well be here and play." And so we've had people helping with the services and stuff, and we have had music and we have had other things. But it's hard not to have the interaction and not to have eyes in front of you that you can see. It's hitting, but it's not. So that's tough. For me, I think the toughest part about this is that spring break week, I was supposed to have my youngest grandchildren, and they didn't get to come. And even though I talk to them almost every day on FaceTime, it's the hugs and virtual hugs don't quite do it for me. And I'm getting to the end of my rope about that. And actually, they're coming down tomorrow, and I get to hug them again. But it's been tough. Today's a second birthday for the grandson in Boston, and they called this morning and showed him opening his presents from us and stuff. And of course, he looked at it, said, "Clothes, yeah. Books, yeah. oh, look, this has buttons on it. Let's do that and try all the noise. But it's just not the same as being there. And they're under lockdown for another 2 months. And I don't know that I could do that. I'm glad I'm in Colorado and not Boston. But this is a long-term thing, and we're doing our best to maintain all of the rules of social distancing, all of the health essential rules. It's just very hard, very hard. And I have to admit, my husband has had the worst time. I don't think he has stayed home a single day, all day. He goes out to the grocery store. He goes out fast food for lunch. Of course, it's drive-through, so he's being required to maintain distances. But after the first month, he was hot to trot. He wanted to drive to Denver, and I told him he couldn't, and he's like, I'm going anyway. And so somebody called. The one person who called for help needed a ride to Denver for a doctor's appointment and needed 4 hours at that appointment. And so we went to Denver, and he did the shopping he thought he needed to do. And he actually wore a mask for the first 2 stores. Couldn't get him to put it on for the 3rd store, but he did what he needed to do, and it relieved his anxiety about that. And so we've been able to maintain most of the let's stay at home kind of stuff since then. It's still, we're local, and he's not going to stay home just because somebody tells him to. So what do you do? It's been interesting. How will it change my future? I think our worship services, as we are able to come back together, will be live streamed on Facebook. I don't know if we'll continue to do Zoom, but we will live stream on Facebook, because one of the things it has done is brought in people who don't come to church. They can watch at home. They've been logging in and watching, and it's names that I know, but who haven't been attending, and that's been pretty special. So we'll continue to Facebook stream. Another hard thing, I think, is communion, and virtual communion is hard. I mean, I honor and bless the elements and then say, okay, go for it, whatever you have there. And the Methodist Church doesn't have wine we have grape juice, and folks they've had wine at home because they can. So that's kind of fun. But it's different. And there was a great controversy over whether or not we could do virtual communion. Other pastors have been doing a drive-through in the parking lot, and I haven't offered that yet, but if we still have to maintain social distance in June, I just might say, let's do it and set it up that way. It's been a good thing. I mean, I've learned lots. I've learned how to preach to a camera and not get feedback. I learned how to put up a voice memo for the radio. I've learned how to I don't know, how to put prayers up on YouTube and Facebook. My admin has learned how to convert videos from Facebook or Zoom to put it on YouTube and to do other things. And we have received like at least half again of our email addresses so people can get notified of things. So that's helped the church that way. Giving has been maintained. I'd say it's not perfect, but people are being very intentional about sending their offerings in. So that's been good. And we were able to apply for the payroll help from the SBA, and that's been good. And that's specific to payroll. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, well, one contract employee, but 2, 3 others who are on the books. And that's been a very good thing. It's been quiet in many ways. But I think it's also showing us how to pay attention to each other and care for each other and care for creation. I'm thrilled that the pollution numbers are down in the big cities because of this time of not driving. And I usually go 5,000 to 6,000 miles every 3 months. And I think I've maybe gone 1,000 miles, if that. And so that's nice. I've been able to stick around town and pay attention, but I know it's wearing on me and it's starting to affect some of my extra work. And I know the people in Stratton, half of them don't have internet. And so they have not been able to take part in worship. I talked to one person whose internet is up and down and it wouldn't matter. He probably couldn't log on and they're not on Facebook. So he's been listening to the Methodist church from Colby, Kansas. And that's, he says it's not the same. And even though he wasn't in church every week, he says, I need to get back to church and I'm ready. So I have to admit, we're going to open the Stratton Church on the 17th of May. And we have 8 people in the church service. So it's not going to be like we've got tons of people and we have to really think about maintaining social distance because it's a simple thing. And it makes me wonder why I didn't just continue having worship over there, except that we were shut down. And they're all over 80, or most of them are. And I have one family with young children and they're in their 40s and she's pregnant. So it wouldn't have been good for her to be among us if we were passing COVID. So that's just been on my mind for it too. I don't think I've been able to turn this off, but decompressing outside of work is, I have a dog, and the reason I have a dog is so that I get outside and walk. And we walk about an hour a day in 2 different walks. And he's been mostly good. Sometimes he tends to run off, and that just gets me angry, and then I get past all this stuff. And so, but that's my big thing. And now that it's getting nice out, I've got a garden, and except for the hail last night, my garden's doing great. So,
how are you doing?
I'm tired. I have some leadership issues that I have not followed well. I've focused on the church and my husband, and I have not done the extra stuff. And there's a piece of me that regrets it, but there's a piece of me that says, no, that needed to be dropped. And yet it's coming back to bite me now. I have responsibilities to the greater church, and it's just hard. The memorial service I did last week, graveside, that one affected me a lot because I was seeing her every week up until COVID. And she helped me make sense of some of the ins and outs of the congregation, because she'd been a member here for 60 years. And she just kept my head on straight. And so we were able to stand outside her room and sing to her last Sunday, and she died Monday morning. And one of the things I said to her was, thank you. And before you leave, you have to assign somebody new to keep me on the straight and narrow. And I'm not sure who she assigned yet, but I think it will come. I'll figure that out before too long. But that's a hard one. She was 97. I have another lady in the other assisted living who's 106, and she's healthy as far as I know. There's no COVID in that facility, and they've been able to gather together. Nobody has been in or out except the staff, but they've been able to gather together and not be isolated in the rooms. And that makes me feel better, but I haven't done a lot of interacting with them. So it's hard. I mean, in a church where over 50% of the people are over 70 and many into their 80s, it's hard. So I'm a little stressed. Probably more than a little stressed.
How do you feel about being deemed non-essential and you're the spiritual leader for your whole church?
I haven't treated it as non-essential. I mean, as I said, I've been here every day. Part of it being it's a lot easier to work in my office than it is at home. Because if I have Zoom meetings and stuff, the dog comes in, interferes, and all that stuff happens. And my internet's better here at the church. I did not consider us non-essential. And yes, the governor said that, but I mean, if the liquor stores and the marijuana dispensaries are essential, so are we. And that's I didn't rebel or anything like that. I just maintained. And it's hard. We have a few teachers in the congregation, and they've had a worse time because, one, they had to upgrade their internet at home before they could be teaching. And then half their students aren't responding and coming in and participating in the online stuff. And part of it's because some of them don't have the resources and some of them just don't care. And the superintendent evidently has said that everybody will move on to their next grade, regardless of how they've behaved this year and what their work looks like. And that's discouraging for them. I'm not sure how to reach out to them to help them. Yesterday there was scuttlebutt and talk. I mean, we had 9 people in the service as we went through, and then they were talking about church or school at the end of it and what's going to happen for the graduates and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how to help that. So, go ahead.
What have you learned about yourself through all of this?
I can do what needs to be done, even if I don't have those skills at the beginning of the crisis. But it was interesting. That first 2 weeks, I was putting spots on the radio, and I haven't done it again. And I don't know what that felt like. I mean, we finished a class last week where one of the questions was, what's your biggest fear? And I came to a conclusion that one of them is fear of success. And so when people were telling me your message on the radio, you know, they were listening to it at the courthouse or something, your message on the radio really helped me get through the day. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how many people are listening to this. And is that how I want to be known in town? Well, yeah, that's how I want to be known. But then I didn't put another one up. And what's my problem here? What's holding me back? So that could be part of it. And fear of success is a big deal. And what does success mean? That you're touching people and helping them get through this kind of stuff. And then, wow, no, you're not doing it yet. So it's interesting. And one of the helpful people is Kendra, and she's been so busy that we haven't been able to connect, and that's hard. And I suspect part of it too is that she's close to the end of her rope. I don't know. I know I see her in worship, and that's good. Yeah, but it's one of those things. How do we support when we're drained? How do we support others? And that's I tend to hibernate, and that's not helping others. It's helping me a little bit, but it's not necessarily helping others. So,
how's this going to make your community stronger from this experience?
I think we have a bunch of folks in town who believe, like those protesters in Michigan, that this is a hoax, and it was geared towards taking our minds off other things that are happening, which is probably partially true. But I don't see anybody in this town picking up weapons and threatening legislators. I think it will help us move forward in many ways. There have been some other political things going on in town, specifically around the hospital. And it's making a lot of other people angry with the hospital board. So it will be interesting to see how that pans out as we elect a new board tomorrow. I mean, this thought of waiting patiently is difficult when there's so many stupid things going on in the world, and yet it's causing us to be more reflective, I think. And I'm hoping that it will help us to see that there are other things that need to be taken care of instead of just personal vendettas or things that the common good is more important than somebody's power moves. I'd like to think that's going to happen, that we will have people working towards the common good for the whole town as opposed to personal issues. I'd like to see that. I hope it happens. So,
what do you tell your grandchildren? What are you going to tell them about this? Why did it happen?
The ones I'll see tomorrow, have a senator for a father, and he's been home the last 4 weeks. And that's more than they've seen him in a long time. So I think they may say more about it than I do. But the piece here is, you know, it's given us an opportunity to reflect on what kind of society we want to live in and how we want to take care of those who may make poor decisions but still are children of God, and how to live together, respecting each person's individual souls, and caring for all of the people who deserve a life like ours. We're not seeing a whole lot of homelessness or underprivileged, because we don't live in a place like that. But the rural communities are definitely here to survive and to build something new. And I think in the past, I've felt like Burlington likes its isolation and doesn't want to participate with the rest of the world. And yet, I think they recognize that we're all in this together, and it's time to step up and be that change for building the society we want to see. If we don't want a huge welfare state, well, how do you help people to step up so that they can build into something sustainable? And if you don't want a huge welfare state, why are you accepting federal money for your farms? I mean, it's an interesting conundrum. So, and I have to admit that came from a segment on 60 Minutes last night, where a lawyer in Arkansas was saying, hey, if you only get $250,000 they promised one person, come and see me and we'll build your partnership so that you get millions of dollars of federal monies. And I'm like, this is crazy. So it will be interesting to see how the election turns out and what kinds of programs and issues the candidates run on, rather than the personality thing. So we'll see. If it doesn't turn out in a positive for the common good way, I might have to say, hey, I'm done and go to Canada. I don't know. But I think it's going to be better than that. I don't know. I think that's it.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this up.